Hello, neighbor. I'm Reverend Deborah from the Home Center. Welcome to our program. Tonight I'd like to talk just a little bit, since we've just been through the election, and I'm happy with how it went. Actually very happy. But 70 million people voted the other way. So our country has a lot of difference of opinion, I'd say, at the very least. A lot to resolve. There's a lot of anger going on from both sides, but probably, certainly from the side that did not win the election. And I want to be able to bridge the gap between us, because we need to be unified. We need to work as one. We have so much work to do. We have so much overcoming of misunderstanding just to begin to do that work. So one of the biggest things we're dealing with, of course, is anger. It's very hard to begin a conversation if you're angry. And I recently saw a little video from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist philosopher and monk who has written many books. But he gave a very short teaching about how to deal with anger. And he put it down to 3 steps. And this is actually anger between two people to begin with, maybe two people that are close to one another that really want to resolve their differences. So it's a beginning. It isn't going to solve a nationwide problem entirely, but actually it is how we're going to solve it one-to-one. And another teaching I saw recently reminded us that it's how you talk to your neighbor. Maybe you voted differently, but do you still see them as a person? Is there still friendliness between you? Do you still just stop and chat when you're out in your yards? Do you bring food to someone who needs it? Do you take care of the sick regardless of their political beliefs? Your neighbors, your immediate family. So Thich Nhat Hanh recommended 3 steps for managing anger. And he said, number 1, it's not going to work, and we all know that, to suppress anger. It lodges in our body, literally. It causes physical illness, ultimately. So we need to not let it sit there and fester. We need to become aware of it and resolve it to the best degree that we can. So his 3 steps were, number 1, if you are angry at somebody close to you, you need to tell them within 24 hours that idea of not letting it sit there and fester and grow. You need to tell them, and step 1 is just to say, and he says to use an endearing term. He uses darling, you could use dear, whatever is comfortable to you. To say, dear, I feel angry. I suffer, and I want you to know it. Simply to say that, to acknowledge it. Number 2, I know you're doing your best, and I too am doing my best, and I'm being mindful of my anger and trying to handle it and trying to understand the root of it. And number 3, my dear, I need your help. Please help me because I'm suffering with being angry. And he says our tendency is to want to not deal with it, to be prideful, to run away. And that's not the thing to do, not the way to deal with it. That is pride, and it is keeping that anger within ourselves, and it's not allowing us to work through it. He says, say this to the person. If you can't say it, write it in a letter. And if you can't give it to them, at least write it for yourself to get that process started. He says, put it all on a little card the size of a business card. So I did that. Well, it's not going to focus, but put those 3 steps on a card and keep in your wallet along with your credit cards, along with your other important documents, just as a reminder. And we know there's so many more ways to deal with anger. Counting to 10, taking 3 deep breaths, all those things. We have many techniques, but I thought this one was especially sweet, and that we do need that reminder right now, that there's anger among us and we need to resolve it, to come to the peace and the light and the good that can be accomplished. So I thank you very much for joining me. Peace and love. Good night.